Welcome to Beyond the Wild podcast, where we go venturing beyond the gear, beyond the subject, beyond the shot. Find the heart of wildlife and adventure creative. Beyond the Wild podcast is brought to you by pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA. Listen in, we share tips and tactics learned from years of journeying into the wild. Your hosts are Jason Loftus, Ron Hayes, and myself, Mark Raycroft. Let's begin another episode of Beyond the Wild.
Welcome back, fellas. How we doing? Don't everybody answer all at once.
I hear a cricket. I could hear a cricket when that happened. That was pretty cool.
All of a sudden, everybody's internet froze right when I asked the question.
Fantastic.
We're doing amazing. Yep.
Fantastic. Going to have a fun episode tonight.
That was brief. Yeah, I didn't even know, Mark, that you were a contestant on Canada's Got Talent.
Well, it was a long time ago, or at least I don't talk about it much because of the copyright concerns. But yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, has it aired
probably
yet?
Think it was dancing.
That was my first thought.
Breakdancing, or I don't know. Is it can you mix ballroom and breakdancing together and just be like the next level of talent? Can you start with one and finish with the other, and just everybody go, what?
Hey, okay, so that being said, that kind of makes me think we should do a little icebreaker real quick, just to get to know one another better. So we'll do 2 truths and a lie, Beyond the Wild edition.
I'm just going to get another coffee. I'll be back in just a minute, guys.
Who wants to go first?
2 truths and a lie.
I gotta think of 2 truths and a lie.
Is that how it's done? We just say something. It's not a question. We don't have to answer a question truthfully.
You give 2 things that are true about you and one that's a lie, and then we have to guess which one's the lie.
Oh, I would have liked preparation time for this one.
Yeah.
No, you don't get preparation time. This is a party game. It's just like
preparation time. Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll go first.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Since you guys are thinking.
Set the bar.
Okay. I was the breakdancing champion of Northwest Wyoming, 83, 84, 85. I was in Sports Illustrated in high school. I won the Wyoming High School Rodeo for bulldogging, steer wrestling, as a junior in high school.
Wow, which one of those is a lie? Those are you thought about this before we started, you dog.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
Those are all out there.
I was just off the top of my head.
Dang.
Oh man. How do we?
You guys gotta get out more.
You've been thinking about this. Yeah, come on.
I'm gonna go with
dancing.
I'm gonna go with the Sports Illustrated one. Is what I'm gonna go with. I think that's the lie.
Is the lie?
Yeah.
I'm going with the bulldogging.
Okay.
At the rodeo as the lie.
That is true. I never rodeoed. I grew up on a ranch, but I was more concerned with playing football. And my dad coached 3 sports, and so I had to be in all 3 sports. So I was. Right. So never rodeoed. My grandparents and my dad, my uncle, were all very good. I just never caught the bug, and it probably saved me a lot of money. Saved me losing a lot of money. But I was in Sports Illustrated in November of 1988. And Jason, you would you would know the guy that was on the cover, Karl Malone with the Utah Jazz.
Oh, wow.
Was on the cover of that Sports Illustrated.
I did not know that. Learned something new tonight about you.
And I can still pop and lock a little bit.
Oh.
I had to do it at my niece's wedding here a couple of weeks ago.
See, I totally believe that, especially to be champion in Wyoming. That's probably not a ton.
Yeah, there was like 4 of us.
Yeah, I was caught up in that craze. I was never very good at it, but if I could do the MC Hammer dance a little bit, I'm kind of famous in my own family for doing the MC Hammer dance. So
doing the Running Man.
Yeah,
the Running Man or the baggy pants.
Both.
Side slide.
Oh, I was.
Okay, that's coming up on a trip here soon, and I promise you all, we will have that on video.
Oh, that's too funny.
All right, who's up? You got it?
I think so. I think so. Just let me see.
No, he's got to write it down. That's the Mark Raycroft tell.
I'm doing the same thing. So
I don't know.
We'll wait. We can wait.
All right. I'm happy to do it on other episodes too, with time to prepare.
Yeah, we'll do it on another episode.
It'll be fun. This is on the spot. Can people see the sweat on YouTube yet coming from the brow?
They can definitely see the twitching. Let's hit the first listener question, Mark.
No, I've got them. Here we go. When I was younger, we all have different hobbies, and photography started out in my late teens, and so did riding motorcycles. And I have ridden all kinds of different bikes in my lifetime, and been really lucky. Enjoyed it. There's no thrill like it, but it's also risky business with the way a lot of drivers are distracted now. So this might, I don't know. So I have the fastest speed I've ever done on a bike is 700 kilometers an hour minus 418. That's one. The other one is I have just been standing in the woods, and I've had a bear brush up against my leg. Wild bear, just kind of happened. And the third one is the fact that you guys brought it up earlier, that I won Canada's Got Talent years ago.
Well, hold on. I'm going to admit, I'm pretty good at mental math, but the conversion of kilometers per hour, I have to check that.
Right. 286 is...
JG, play some Jeopardy music right here.
I look forward to this on future episodes. This is going to be fun.
It is really fun.
Yeah.
175 miles an hour, roughly. Yeah. I mean, if I didn't know which one was the lie.
Yeah.
This isn't for the listeners, unfortunately. This is
I would call that one out.
Yeah. Well, the third one really is I myself have been a cover model.
What that's for?
You have right here on the
Canada's
Beyond the Wild
Talent. Yeah, right. Logo. No, before that, Canada's Got Talent. I mean, I don't think you guys will believe that. I mean, everybody can. It's a listener question coming up on today's podcast.
That's kind of like my breakdancing thing. There was only 4 of us.
It was a small episode.
Some things seem more impressive if you leave a few details out on occasion.
That's great.
Oh, that's funny.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's play it on another one. Unless you want to go with that, because you guys. We kind of. It was a leader.
No.
You know.
We'll let Jason do some thinking.
Oh, Oh,
And
I can go now, but I'm.
Oh, you're ready now.
Yeah.
Well, so you both called me out on the same one that you haven't said then, because we already.
Canada's Got Talent. Yeah, for sure.
All right. So that was. Yeah, we were talking before the episode because I was revealing the song that I won it with, and we'll cover that in a little bit.
Oh shoot! Yeah, that's kind of a lost leader right there. We messed up.
No, it's good. No,
apologize. Yeah. What was the song, Mark? What was the song?
Well, to win these kinds of competitions, not only does it have to be a lyrically really impressive, but send a wonderful message, and journey. Don't stop believing. Right. That was my opener, and that was the one that kind of hit it out of the park.
Yeah. That's incredible, Mark.
And
that's incredible.
Thank you, guys.
Could you sing a couple bars for us?
I'd be delighted to. Yes. But I did sign at the show that it'd be copyrighted for the production. So I don't think until it comes out in 2039 can I reveal that.
And until we were in northern Alberta photographing bears, I did not know your voice could get that high.
Or was that in the cabin? You found that out.
I was going to say, if you don't mind, refresh my memory on when that happened. Ron, I've never had somebody pinch me there before. So, I mean, I know it was the first time sharing a room with you, so, I get to know each other, right?
So here's the deal for everybody that doesn't remember from our previous podcast. Mark one night got cold, and he decided he was going to slide the two single beds together that were clear across the room. And he smashed his foot inside between the beds.
Oh, and I squealed.
Had nothing to do with anybody grabbing anything.
No, I don't know.
No, that wasn't true either. That was kind of like the rodeo.
So are we rolling with most of this content, or do you want to start fresh?
Oh, let's go. It's my turn. I'll do it, and then we can go in the future too. Right. Yeah. So
roll with it.
All right. So here's my three. I once was almost shot while I was hunting. I'm a black belt in Taekwondo, and I've seen a UFO.
Those are good too.
I know you did some martial arts, but I don't know about the black belt part. I've seen lots of UFOs. It just means that it's unidentified.
Jeez. Like I've gone and had an ice cream. I mean, what? All right. I'm going to say I'm hesitant, but I'm going to say the UFO is fiction.
Okay.
I mean, he lives in Utah, spends time down in the desert. I think maybe you made it to brown belt, but you didn't make it all the way to black belt. But I do know that you've done some martial arts, so I'm not 100% on that.
So you're going with the black belt, Ron?
Yeah, I'm going with the black belt. Yeah.
Mark had it right.
You've never seen a UFO?
I've never seen what I would call an actual. When I say UFO, I should have said alien spacecraft or something, right? Like something that I would have believed was from out of this world.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's
seen things that I didn't
unidentified flying object.
Sure. So maybe I should have clarified, and that would have given it away more. But
all right.
Yeah, there you
go. All right. Well, no steamrolling or wet willies for you.
No.
Wet willy. Everybody knows that. Better clarify, because that could be misconstrued. But
I don't know.
Jason, take that out.
Stick it in someone's ear, right? And the guy's got a black belt. You don't wet your finger and stick it in his ear as a joke. You don't. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't even know how many of our listeners know what a wet willy is. I mean, that's a Gen X thing for sure.
Well, I think it was before. It was like even before my time, right? I was like a kid and
yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Gen X are in back for sure, no question.
Right. But, yeah. Baby boomer. If it
Baby
was
do
boomer
before
explain
thing.
it
Mark's time, it has
because
to be a
it
baby
could
boomer
be
thing.
misunderstood. Guys, this is such a fun
Yes, it could.
photography podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about some photography.
I'm sure glad I came up with that idea.
That
Oh,
was
you know
great.
what? I'm still kind of reeling and embarrassed about mine, but you guys were solid, and I'm looking forward to playing this game again next time. Straight faced. Fun stuff. Ron, tell us about what you were posting from last weekend. You're on an adventure. You had some fun, fantastic photography, FFP.
So initially, I was planning on heading to Colorado to photograph elk in velvet. I had some things come up that I had to take care of here, and so it delayed the trip. Plus, there was a fire, so I would have had to take the long way around to get to where I needed to be. So I decided I went and got a haircut on Thursday, I believe. And I was talking to my barber. He was a former biology tech with the Forest Service. So when we visit, we always talk about, what he's seen. He is a birder. And so he told me about some burrowing owls that he had at his in-laws ranch. And I just thought, well, we can take a shot in the dark and see what I can see. They're fledged, of course, so I thought there was a good chance. He said he would take walks through this prairie dog town, and they would fly around him constantly. So I thought, well, go get some birds in flight. I have never photographed burrowing owls in flight, really. I've gotten some video, but never specifically gone out to try that. So everybody knows, I've talked about it so many times before. Wildfire season is bad in a lot of ways, but what it does to the atmosphere and the evening light is just something that you just can't repeat. And so I went out, had an hour is all, and just got some insane images. And initially, when I got there, they were really, really spooky. And then finally, I got one that sat on a prairie dog hole and just didn't move. So I did the Mark Raycroft, actually. Made the Mark Raycroft move on him and zigzagged, and just every zig, I would take an angle that got a little closer, and then I would zag and come back and just get a little closer. But it works on birds as well as
Ungulates.
the megafauna.
Yeah.
That thing just sat there and watched me, and I never really made direct eye contact with him. I just walked back and forth in front of him, and I closed from about 150 yards to about 7 yards, and I finally just knelt down and started taking pictures, and
Wow.
had a great shoot, unbelievable evening light. I haven't even put up the good stuff yet. And then I did get several owls that were flying back and forth across this prairie dog town, and turned out to be a really good shoot, and probably the best hour of photography I've had in quite some time, with that light and subjects that were cooperative. In fact, by the end of it, I was photographing one owl specifically, and then by the end of it, I had two others that were within 20 yards of me that just came and landed with him. They just got curious. And, no sudden movements. I was moving slow. I was being very intentional. Got some extreme low angle stuff. Laid the camera right down on a prairie dog hole. Got some really low angle stuff, but it was good. And we'll throw a short on YouTube too. I got some video, just resting the camera on the ground. That was pretty cool for being relatively handheld. Pretty much handheld video. So, and then the next day, another friend of mine called and said, "Hey, I've got a boat for tomorrow," and went out and got some like merganser chicks, I guess you'd call them, and they were just crushing the crayfish. They'd it was unreal how many they caught. Those things are, even at a very young age, super efficient hunters. And yeah, got a lot of pictures of them chasing each other and wing flapping and catching crayfish and trying to choke them down. The crayfish were as big as the mergansers' heads, and they were somehow getting them down the gullet. So it was impressive. But it was fun. That was with my buddy Jeremy Thies. So.
And then the next day, a guy with a helicopter that called and said, "Let's go photograph."
Yeah, it was nuts. It was one of those, I had in my mind what I thought I wanted to do,
right,
and then getting out just for those two, just rolled with it. But that is, again, just emphasizes the need for a good network.
Absolutely.
And the benefit of having a good network.
Yeah.
And going
I'm kind of jealous. That sounds like fun.
Well, except I saw what you did too. So spill, because you went where I was going to go.
Yeah. After our last episode that just aired, we talked a little bit about the Africa trip that went south, and so because of that, I took the opportunity to run over to Colorado as well and try to chase some velvet stuff, and went over there with some targets in mind and was able to connect, and then did really well with other stuff too, and was able to connect with a few folks and friends of ours that haven't seen for a while, and it was nice just to be up there. Had a couple of shoots on my own that was nice to just be away and clear my head, and one evening kind of ended the day just me and an elk and another buddy that was with me, but he was off on his own doing his own thing, and just sat there and took it in. It was really nice to just relax and enjoy the high country and the cool breeze and 65-degree temps, and just the experience that I just had, and just thinking on that and taking it in, and just being a part of how lucky we are to be a part of that and to get to do what we do. And it was interesting to me because literally we're the only two people up on that mountain, and that we knew of anyways. And I just thought to myself, how many people aren't experiencing that,
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, it was a good weekend for me. I needed it to clear my head and get regrounded and just quit doing the pity party, for myself. And so yeah, it was good. That's what I did.
And the rain.
Oh yeah, we can touch that. We shared a clip about it, but boy, oh boy, that rolled in a hurry, and I was up on top of the mountain, literally, with these elk, and it came rolling in. I looked to my right, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna get wet. And literally 30 seconds later, it was coming down, and I turned and walked off the mountain, and by the time I got about 50 yards into it, I was already soaked. And my biggest concern at that point was just lightning and keeping my camera from getting too wet. So I just covered it up with my jacket and hiked down the mountain, and got to the bottom and thought about the fact that in my car was a light rain jacket that I just left sitting there. And I had a lot of that this weekend. Let me put it that way. I had a lot of those experiences where I, didn't take the wide angle on one of the runs I did and missed some stuff. And then, I know better. I say it all the time, and I still just can't learn. So, and then there's my light jacket because I knew there was a chance of rain, and just left it in the car because I didn't want to deal with it, and had my extra camera, my wide angle, which got extra wet because I didn't have my rain jacket. So anyways, one of these days I'll learn, maybe. So, so learn from me. Just, we say these things from experience, right? And every time, yeah, I learn again the hard way. So.
I did think of one more thing. It had nothing to do with the helicopter.
Oh, yeah.
But Sunday night I got a call, or a text, I guess, rather. And last year I did some filming for a ranch, and it worked out really well. They did great on the sale. So filming horses. And so they called me, wanted me to come back out, do some more. But this time they had some specific ideas, sent me some clips that they wanted to emulate. And so just going out and filming horses just for day rates, and then I will edit everything for the animals that they're going to sell. But that will pay for about 3/4 of my brand new R5 Mark II that I will have in my hand by the time this airs. So that's and that's
Dang.
just something I go out and do before work in the morning. So I go out about 5 and I'm back in time for work. So
Nice.
yeah.
It'd
So
be
it
fun.
was a good week.
Yeah. So happy to hear that.
How about you, Mark? Yeah, I needed. I was due. I needed a good weekend.
Yeah,
But
I've had a great week, but it's all been office related, and my son was home for a couple of nights, so that's always super nice to
that
see
makes it a
him. And
plus.
yeah, we went out for a nice dinner last night and caught up. And he was recently in Ireland and Scotland, and we got to hear about his trip that he went on himself to explore those areas and see the images and stuff. So that was fantastic, and it's been a good week for tours. Signing up for tours, so that's always nice. And actually, I got to give a shout out with a shirt I'm wearing. My friend Dave Rothwell, who you can find on Instagram, photographs all kinds of North American and further abroad wildlife, sent this t-shirt with a photo he took on our very first caribou photo tour that we offered back in 2000 or 2022. And he, Todd, Dave, and Jeff were on that first week, and it was a ton of fun, and it was very thoughtful to receive this surprise in the mail today from the group of guys that were on that first tour. So thanks, Dave. Much appreciated.
Excellent.
And we have tour groups of all sorts. I mean, we have lots of all female groups, and male and female, you name it. Both Pilly, my wife, and I lead the caribou tour. So anyway, it was a nice surprise. It's I feel the love that way. So it's fantastic. And I think these trips, whether it's a tour or just trips with friends, these shared magical experiences that we witness and photograph, bonds us together. We have shared magical memories from wherever we venture afield. No doubt Svalbard made you two even closer.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Absolutely, in more ways than one. I won't get into details, but not quite as good as the steamroller story.
Nothing to do with the steamroller.
All in fun. So should we roll with some listener questions and fill out?
You got some listener questions for us, Mark? Go for it.
Yeah, quite a few. So I think because we're 30 minutes in, that's answer as you see fit.
I think a lot of that's going to come out.
Well,
all right, here we go. So, as when I mention this stuff, or when we mention this stuff on social media, requesting questions, it's always wonderful to receive them, and it's fun, and they come from all directions, different people, and different types of questions too. So it's always interesting to see what comes in, and love interacting that way. And so keep them coming. So many. Carla Cox, carla.cox, COX.images on Instagram, who you both know really well. And I had the good fortune of meeting with her husband, Jason, last fall. Sent in the question, and I thought this would be a very appropriate one to start with. What keeps the wildlife photography passion alive for each of you? I'll defer to one of you guys to start.
Dang. Well, I'll jump real quick. Just one I want to give Carla and Jason a shout out. They're one of the ones that I got to see this last weekend, and they actually heard about my Africa thing, and this, just being good friends. They just really, I think I don't know if they made the trip just for me, obviously, but they came over and hung out with me for a bit. So that was really nice of them. So thank you guys. How do I keep the photography passion alive? I mean, for me, it's just always about keeping it interesting, keeping it challenging. And we've talked about this before, but I've never felt like I've learned it all or figured it all out not even close. So for me, that's not hard to do. And, we've talked about this before, like when you get into funk, how do you get out of the funk? And I think it's just about challenging yourself to think differently. Sometimes it's, going out and shooting with just a 70 to 200 instead of taking your long lens or something like that. But for me, that's what it's about, and just trying to get out as consistently as I can. This is going to sound dumb, but I kind of need this, Getting out this weekend, like I said, was a great refresh for me. And quite honestly, it really wasn't about the images. I had fun and I got some really neat stuff. But even if I wouldn't have, it would have been a great escape and a great way to get out and clear my head. So for me, I always try to keep that perspective in mind. And it's really that simple for me. Just try to keep it challenging and interesting and learn new things as I go.
How about you, Mark?
For me, it's the fact that it's different every time. Every time we go out on any given day, with a camera in hand or not, but obviously our approach is with the camera, is we don't know what's going to happen, what we'll see, what the opportunities will be, and then when it does, whatever it might be pops up in front, is the challenge of documenting it well. So what keeps the passion alive is I never know what that day will be like, and I never know what the results will be. So, it pivots into another gentleman's question that I could do in a moment, but kind of, it's unpredictable and often very fulfilling. And like you said, Jason, even without the images, the day in nature in the wild has its own rewards. It's calming, it's fulfilling. With friends, it's great camaraderie. So thankfully, it's never been a challenge. The photography part, the adventure part, the outdoors part, I've always been passionate about, because I just never know what will happen.
For me, it's I can't probably say this too much, but it's always about the something new, and that something new can be a behavior. It can be, like these birds this weekend having just this crazy light and trying to get burrowing owls in flight. That was the challenge, and a short time to do it. But going back to who asked the question, another something new is a new location. So last year I was really in a funk, and the Svalbard thing came up, and it was just having that planned lit a fire under me to go do other things, as a lead up to that. And with Jason and Carla, again, fantastic people, good friends, and they sent me the invite for this Jaguar trip in October, and that kind of rekindled a little bit of a fire. It's been a tough year, and for them to extend that and have something to look forward to, it was kind of just what the doctor ordered, and being able to make that happen. It's rare that you can, we all have these dreams, and I've talked to people about other trips, and everybody, I wish I could go. And there's those trips for all of us. I wish I could go. Jason invited me to Africa, and I just couldn't make it happen because of the timing. And then the timing got screwed up even further. So that's something that's on the list for sure. But so were Jaguars in the Pantanal. So I am very much looking forward to that, and it's got me out shooting. And quite frankly, it's definitely a first world thing, but this new camera has got me excited. The R5 II, just some of the things that it can do based on how I shoot and what I shoot, with the video and stills. Being able to have pre-record in a hybrid camera now, it's like not just a half-second pre-record, having 3 to 5 second pre-record in a hybrid camera. That's exciting. So while I was shooting this weekend, all I kept thinking was, man, that sure would have been nice to have those extra 15 images or to have that 3 seconds of video that I missed, that, the behavior that I missed. So I'm excited for that, and it's got me thinking, and it's got me excited as well. Just the little things, but I think mostly just the something new. It's always about getting out for me and just being alone with my thoughts and alone with the subject. But I'm always looking for something that I've never seen before. So awesome. Good question, Carla. That's we all go through those burnout phases.
Oh, definitely. Quickly, Carla, if you look at her Instagram, she photographs Rocky Mountain subjects, elk, bears, horses. You can even see whales on her fantastic page on Instagram. And again, that's Carla with a K, Karla. You'll see it on, if you watch on YouTube, our producer Jason puts it along the bottom as we mention these. Karla.cox.images. Next question is from Simon Ray Photography, SIMONWRAY Photography. And I just kind of piggybacks on Carla's, is why I thought of this next. Do you all go into trips with a list of desired images in mind, or just go with the flow for planned trips? What do you guys think?
I think you go in with some preconceived notions. Went to Svalbard with some preconceived notions, and those got blown out of the water. I didn't get anything that I thought I was going to get. But what I got, I was very happy with. But I think you always go in with a bit of a plan, even like this weekend. I'm going to keep going back to that just because it's fresh, but I wanted burrowing owls in flight. Said they were flying around all the time, and that's what I was after. But then when you get there and all of a sudden this insane light and backlit opportunities with these really cooperative birds come along, and all of a sudden you've got what could be a couple cover shots, to be completely honest. And I won't put those out probably on social media, but holy smokes, it was tremendous. And what I had in my head was nothing like what I got. But again, there's no disappointment there because it's different. So I think, yeah, you go in with a plan, but you always go with the flow.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I'd add anything to that other than I did go into Svalbard with a black background polar bear idea in mind.
And I still to this day can't believe you got it.
I'm just teasing. That was completely unexpected, and it was kind of just really funny. So I had to bring it up again.
But you did say that on multiple occasions.
I know, but I was completely not accepting it. Like, come on, this is a joke, so.
Yeah.
But no, I would totally agree with what Ron said. I couldn't even add anything up more. You always have ideas of what you want, and you're trying to put yourself in the position to get those, but you just always have to kind of take what you're given to. So.
Totally. It was well summarized. The only exception from what I'd say is if I have a book or a commercial project that I've been sent on and there's a wish list, then I target those, or just I'm paying a lot of attention. So with the moose or caribou books, I wanted to illustrate all the behaviors I could. So just watching for anything happening that way. So I had a wish list, but I know, like Ron summarized perfectly, you just never know what's going to happen. So I think the best photographers are those that are opportunistic of what unfolds in front of them and enjoy those moments and then celebrate at the end of the day.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Mark. And even with on video projects, you've got a shot list, and that's what they want because it works with the story that they're trying to sell, just like, you're discussing with your books. If you haven't seen Mark's books, you need to grab them all. They're not only striking images, but also the biological and behavioral information, ecological information that's contained in there is tremendous. And I can see where you create your own shot list based on the story, the ecological story that you're trying to tell with each of those species. And
Thanks very much.
It's common with video. You have the shot list right out of the gate.
Yeah, it's very kind of you to say.
Those are great books, and I've even started reading them to my grandkids. The older couple, they really dig them, so it's great. They're great books to just have for yourself, but they're also like Ron said, just great for the biology and the story and everything about the specific animal that the book's on. So yeah, I couldn't, and I'm fortunate enough to have a signed copy of all of them, I think so.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. They're passion projects, right? There's a lot of love put into them, and it's fun. It's really fun, a fun challenge to look for the behavioral images, right? To illustrate and complete that, and it takes years, and it's rewarding, and yeah, I'm flattered too. So thank you guys.
Absolutely.
So this here's a equipment question from Michael. Well, quickly. Simon's Instagram is worth checking out, and he uses light wonderfully on his page. You'll see at Simon Ray Photography, and he's got bears, whales, snakes, a whole variety, deer, owls, but really enjoys. You can tell playing with early and late light and good quality images with light. Fairfax Mike, is his Instagram handle, FAIRFXMIKE. Michael Fahey. It's questions about tripods. So different subject matter, and it's an interesting take. I'll quickly mention Michael's Instagram, and that he's got a wonderful variety of wildlife from Alaskan brown bears to macro work. So worth checking his page out as well. So his question, it's kind of a three-part. So he says, I'm all for cheap tripods. This is an interest. I found this to be an interesting take. I'm all for cheap tripods using and I don't know what this means, $, number sign, exclamation mark, $, 4 letters out of them and tossing them. Change my mind. I use a $200 tripod for my 600 millimeter setup. Every 2 years or so, it gets tossed and a new one gets bought. I want to hear about tripods. What are people using and why? So, guys, what do you think of that strategy with cheaper tripods? And honestly, props to Mike. I know Mike and Michael, and he's a great guy, and his photography is fantastic. Personally, I didn't know you could get a $200 tripod that would work for a 600 millimeter lens setup. So, guys, what do you have to say? Be nice.
I think there's some really good, more affordable options, but I think like Leophoto, they've got some great products. Carbon fiber, you can get them for what, $400 or $500,
Right.
and they're durable. They last a long time. You can take them apart, clean them, rebuild them, put them back together, and you're off and running. Being, especially since starting to do video, that's taken on a whole new meaning. There's no $200 video tripod. It does not exist, and there's no fluid head. I think the cheapest fluid head that I've found that works is probably the one Jason got, that Miller. They're good and they're affordable, but if you're going to do it even semi-professionally, you're going to be spending $4,000 on a tripod / fluid head. I think carbon fiber is the way to go. Number one, it doesn't expand and contract with the heat and cold as bad as some metals do. The other thing is weight. They're a lot lighter and more manageable, I think. Like the active system and the Flowtech system from Sackler, which you can pick up from Pictureline. Colin, I'm sure, would be happy to put you in a Flowtech system, but they are very adaptable. They're lightweight. They're fast to set up. That's the thing about the tripods, is you miss a lot messing with trying to get your tripod set up and leveled and that kind of thing. But I think, and maybe this is just since I've started actually having money to spend, but my theory has become buy nice or buy twice, or in Mike's case, buy multiple times every couple of years. But I think you can spend $1,000 on a tripod and never have to buy one again. But it doesn't seem like the right thing to do when you're spending that money. I can relate to that.
My friend Jean-Pierre had a model that has stuck with me ever since he said it. and it's one of those stop scrolling moments kind of motto, is that my family's too poor to buy cheap stuff. So if you buy quality, it'll last you all those years. That's my approach. This is, and obviously with Michael, I mean, this isn't a criticism whatsoever. I mean, it's, there's two different strategies. I mean, but the cheapest tripod I'm aware of for what I do, and not cheap only as in dollar, not in quality, is I have a Sackler video tripod that I carry because I don't use a tripod for stills ever, aside from long exposure, stuff like that. But I'm talking about for my wildlife content that everybody's used to seeing. But for video, it's important to have a tripod. So I have the video tripod for that, and I think I bought it a number of years ago, but it was maybe $1,200 or $1,400 with the head, and I had no complaints about that price point for what it offers. And it comes with a sling case, and it's easy to manage. It is extra gear to carry, but so that's been my approach. But yeah, it's been, as far as a photography equipment of any sort, really, it's been quality first for longevity. It's been my approach. It's a good question, and I'm just personally, I haven't shopped for cheaper tripods, so my head's not in the game. I don't know what's available that way, but appreciate your answer, Ron.
Jason?
Yeah, I don't know that I'd add much other than I'd just add that there's a brand out there that I used to purchase when I didn't have as much money as well, obviously, and was just getting into photography, and it was Enduro. Yeah, Enduro, and I'm sorry, it is Induro, and I actually still have my original tripod that I bought from them, and it works fine still. So, and I think, you know, you can get the carbon fiber one that's a little heavier duty that'll be, you know, $500-$600, something like that. So that's what, in my mind, what a cheap tripod would be, that's going to meet the needs of, you know, doing the 600 millimeter lens and some video potentially, and so on and so forth. But I'm the same way as Mark and Ron. I know this. When I'm out shooting photos, I'm pretty much handheld or monopod, and I do use a monopod from time to time. It's nice to have that when you're just standing around waiting for something to happen, and you don't have to be holding your camera up at the ready. So that's really when the monopod comes into play for me. But anytime you're doing video, if you want to get any video that's worth anything, then yeah, you're going to have to just go with the video head and the tripod setup, and just be willing to bite the bullet and carry it and spend the money to get the quality. And I'm with Ron when he said, you know, what was the motto you said, Ron?
Buy nice or buy twice.
Buy nice or buy twice, right? Yeah, I've kind of always had that motto with most things. I've learned that just buying quality, you get it right, you get it the right thing the first time, and then you're set. You don't really have to spend more money. It doesn't wear out. There's no reason to throw it away and get a new one. It'll just last. So.
I appreciate it, Michael. And maybe when we're communicating next, you know, let me know what this gear is that you've been buying, and how, you know, obviously it's worked for a couple of years, what the brand is and the model and that kind of stuff, to help me understand it a little more clearly. Next question is from Jonathan Gillingham Photography, all one word, on Instagram. And you can see that on YouTube on the bottom here, JONATHANGILLINGHAM Photography. First question, the second one's very quick. First question is, what's better, the 400 2.8 with a 1.4 teleconverter, or 600 f4?
Everybody at the same time ready?
It depends.
Okay. Well,
I mean, we can dive deeper a little bit, but I've had this question a lot from people, because they ask, like, I only have money to buy one, so which one should I buy? And my opinion, and this is just my opinion, there's a lot of different ways to think about this, but my opinion is that it really does depend on what your focus is. If your focus is birds, and that's what you shoot most of the time, I would say buy the 800 if you can. You know, don't go to the 600, buy the 800 if you're shooting birds mostly. If you're shooting big game and you want to have the opportunity to shoot more wider angle in that too, and get that lower light capability, in my opinion, the 400 is the way to go, because you can throw a 1.4 on it and you're at 560 at f4. So essentially, when you buy the 400, you have two lenses, and that 400 with the 1.4 on it, I can't even pixel peep, and it's hard to tell there's any issues with clarity or noise or anything because of the extra glass. On at least on the Canon system, I'm not sure about on the Nikon, but I'm just kidding. but yeah, so that's my take. And if you're gonna shoot, other stuff, and you want the tighter portrait look or whatever, then get the 600, because the 600 can take the 1.4 as well, and then you have a 6 and an 800. So there's just different ways to think about it, right? But that's my perspective, and that's generally what I tell folks when they ask that question is, and I'm fortunate enough to have both, so I'm a little spoiled that way. When I shoot waterfowl and I'm shooting birds and stuff, I'm using my 600 a lot of times with the 1.4. But when I go out for big game, my go-to is that 400, and it's hard to beat that 2.8. The one thing I will say, and then I'll shut up, that 400 2.8, that extra stop of light is a bigger deal than I ever thought it really was. It's. I used to kid myself and say, it's not a big deal, it's just one stop. But it is a game changer when you're in the field and things are starting to dim. Find myself, when I have that lens, shooting significantly longer and later than most other people that that might only have a 5.6 or 5.6 to 6.3 or whatever, an f4 even. So there is something to be said for that. And so then buying that 400 2.8, you end up getting that extra stop of light when you need it, and then when you want the reach, you can throw the 1.4 on it.
So going back to our sponsors, Canon just filed a patent, and let's just get this out there first. This is not a rumor. It actually was filed. I'm not saying that it's going to happen, because tons and tons and tons of camera patents are filed and nothing ever comes of them. But they just filed a patent for a 400 to 600 f2.8 to f4. It's probably going to cost you a kidney, at least one. But you could have the best of both worlds. Have the 400 2.8 and the 600 f4 in one lens.
Which would be insane.
Yeah, but it's patented, Mark, so you can't have that on the Nikon system. Apologize.
Caught my eye. I'm like, what the heck's going on here? Yeah. How sweet would those have?
I mean, the advancements, there's not really that many. I mean, there are advancements in camera technology. Global shutters are coming. The stack sensors, stack backside illuminated sensors, the new focus system. Those are all advancements in camera technology, and those are all things that we're seeing right now. Eye autofocus, all of those things are new or getting better. But the advancements are going to come on the lens side, because you've got different materials that you can use for glass, and then you've got different polymer materials that you can use for the housing of the lens that are lighter. I mean, you just look at the first version of the 600 f4 and the last version of the 600 f4, and there's probably 3 pounds of difference between the two. It's so, I mean, you could almost handhold the new 600 f4s, and it's just because of the new materials that they can make the housing of the lens with. So I think we're going to see a lot of advancement there, but it's not going to be cheap. And that's the elephant in the room, I guess. Yeah. So you've got to have some pennies to be able to get that stuff, but you could potentially, coming soon, have the best of both worlds.
So Jonathan's Instagram is focused on wildlife and landscapes, and a lot on the Northwest Territories of Canada and Newfoundland. His second question was a quick one, is who pre-ordered the R5 Mark II? I think you guys kind of mentioned that on another podcast we did recently. Both hands in the air. The Canon contingent has stepped forward, and both are excitedly awaiting their cameras, and again, by the time this airs, possibly have them in hand, and we'll have more feedback, which all of us are looking forward to. In
another shout out to Pictureline. Actually, I didn't actually pre-order it. I was just told I was going to buy it.
Yeah, that's true.
I think that's more the way this came about.
So look into pricing at Pictureline, pictureline.com. Contact Colin Bigelow and told him that Beyond the Wild podcast team sent you and see what this gentleman can do for you. His service is second to none, and we recommend him, of course. Which leads me to the next question is for Jason Loftus. Would you ever get the RF 100 to 300? And this is from Anonymous.
So I'm going to probably need Ron's help here to help me with the technology that's so unique about the 100 to 300. But one thing I'll tell you is that from what Colin has educated me on is that that lens has something very, very unique about it that is usually only available in lenses that are, in that $20,000 to $30,000 range. And it has something to do with the way the glass is and the way that there's like no softness on the edges. There's no vignetting. There's something about the way this lens is designed, the type of lens it is. But it's crossed my mind more than once. I'm not saying I'm going to get it, but it would be a very good lens to have for some very specific situations, such as Africa photography potentially, and for katmai bears and things of that nature. Things where you're going to be potentially closer to the subjects. So the next time I do make it to Africa, I fully intend on renting one and taking it with me to give it a shot and see what all the word just slipped my mind.
Fuss.
What all the buzz is about, right? About this lens. Sorry. Jeez.
What's the aperture?
It's 2.8.
2.8.
100 to 300. It's a zoom, but it's f2.8 zoom.
Throughout.
Primarily, I think the thought process was like inside sports photographers. We're going to gravitate toward that lens just because of the range. But it is a thing of beauty. Not cheap. If they come out with the 400 to 600, and I could, in some alternate universe, afford both, I would forego the 300 to 400 range just to have those two lenses.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that'd be the perfect pairing of two lenses for sure. But do you know the name? I'm not trying to put you on the spot, Ron, but what is the technology, the type of lens? There's a name for it. Is it? I
don't. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you.
Is it aspherical? Does that make?
Could be. Yeah.
I don't. Anyways,
it's internal zoom, so there's no telescoping.
Right.
Of the elements.
Mark, you're over there. You're acting as producer over there, looking up on Google, right?
I'm jumping on the next question and getting ready to cover the next topic, guys.
Let's go to the next question, but I'll look it up while we're talking about the next question. So.
Well, I just wanted to close that Anonymous is somebody that you mentioned in your answer. Not to throw it out there, because I'm not trying to throw him under the bus, because it's a good question, but I think he's leading you with it a bit, Jason.
That's kind of what I mean by I was told I was buying it.
Right.
So
I knew
from Anonymous. Yeah,
I knew who asked that question. There's no question, no doubt about that. So yeah, thanks, buddy. Here's what I'll say. You give me one I can rent, and then we'll talk.
Hey, so going back to Canon, and I know the other companies have the same opportunity, but going back to Canon, if you look above my head, right there, for those of you that are watching on YouTube, is Canon Professional Services. It's the best $100 a year you will ever spend. You can borrow everything that Canon makes. You don't have to buy it all like Jason does. You can borrow everything that Canon makes one time. If you step up to the $300 level, which is the gold level, you can borrow it twice. Each thing that Canon makes twice. You don't have to pay a rental fee. You just have to ship it back. They also will clean your camera, clean your lenses. You'll have discounts on repairs. If you send something in for a repair, they'll send you a loaner if it's going to be more than 3 days, so that you're not without. It's the best money you'll ever spend, without a doubt. And there are some requirements. Used to be required that you're published in so many publications and things like that, but Now it's more about the gear that you have or the amount of gear that you have. But it's well worth the investment. So I would strongly suggest that everyone get in the professional services of whatever brand you're shooting. Good luck with Nikon, though, because you can't ever get a hold of anybody. Canon's the greatest. Sorry, Mark.
Sorry, I was reading the next question. What was that?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think it was fantastic that you mentioned that and make people aware of that opportunity. Because if you want to try on new equipment, that's a very cost-effective way to do so. And Canon's equipment is as good as anybody's on the planet, right? So, and they're coming out with a lot of exciting stuff. So, absolutely. I also just wanted to close quickly because we joked about this earlier, and we get some questions that have great humor too. So Keith on Instagram, Keith Douglas, Keith_A_Douglas, who focuses on mule deer, elk, and night sky photography. Check out his page. He was the one who asked, what song did Mark north of, quote, this is his question, obviously I'm not framing this, Mark, quote, north of Smooth Raycroft sing when he won Canada's Got Talent. So when we were joking earlier, it was thank you, Keith, for providing some inspiration for humor on this podcast this week. He has another question that is using a 1.6 times option on the R5 giving the same result as the full frame if you don't crop any further.
Can you repeat that? My
is
light
using
just went out, so.
Is using a 1.6 times option, so opting for the crop sensor option, right? On the R5?
Or shooting in crop mode.
That's what I mean.
Right,
yeah.
shooting in crop mode.
Yeah. On the R5, does it give the same result as full frame if you don't crop any further? So I'm reading through this too. Do you think he's asking that shooting at the cropped sensor, or if you shoot full frame and crop it in post to the same zoom on the sensor, is there a difference? That's what I'm thinking he's meaning. Keith, message us at Beyond the Wild Podcast, DM us on the Instagram and clarify if that's not what it was, and we'll address it again in a future episode. But assuming that's what Keith was curious about, what do you guys think, being R5 active photographers?
Go for it, Ron.
I have kind of found that, and it could be in my head. I can't say for sure. I apologize for those of you that are watching on YouTube. I got a light that I think may have just
I'm like in the
flickered
bar mode
its last beam.
It's like you're at the pub or something. I don't know. The light's dimmed.
Right.
We're going to the night mode of Beyond the Wild Podcast. Everybody, stay tuned. Looks, I can still see you fine.
Yeah. So I have started, and I have shot in crop mode. I've shot video in crop mode, but with video, I've started shooting 8K full frame if I think I'm going to crop it later. And I've done the same with stills. Instead of shooting in crop mode, I keep it full frame. Again, it may be in my head because you're cropping into the same number of pixels, but let's be straight up honest. If you shoot in crop mode, you're still going to want to crop in. And so I don't think the quality is the same as shooting full frame and then cropping in post. That is my preference. And again, it is a preference. It's not a hard fast. I've got no science behind it except my eye, looking at the images and the quality of the images that I get. So that is my preference.
Yeah. Being the other one that shoots an R5, I'll go ahead, Mark.
have a thought on
I
that, but
honestly think I would agree. Yeah, I would agree, Ron. I think that I don't know that it makes much difference. I think that you're going to use the same portion of the sensor if you were to shoot 1.6 and then crop to 1.6 in post. So I'm a fan of just letting me get the full frame, full sensor image, and then crop it how I want. And we've talked about this before a little bit. The only caveat I'd say is that when does it make sense to shoot and crop and not in full frame? And maybe with the old tracking system, there was some benefit to cropping, and because it could grab the subject better, from what I've heard. I've still never done
Yeah,
it.
because your focus points went from border to border, because you are using that center part of the frame like you discussed.
Right.
And the old focus systems, you had, the exterior part of the viewfinder didn't have focus points in it.
Right.
Now they do, so it's not as big a deal. But
yeah. So barring that, now with the new technology, it may be a non-issue even there. So I'm a fan of shooting in full frame and getting all the data I can, and then cropping later. And I think you're going to end up with a better image doing that personally. So I would agree.
Agreed.
Yeah, same here, guys.
You can do that. The Nikon's 1.5, right?
I haven't
crop
even
sensor,
looked,
the APS-C in Nikon.
Yeah, but it's got to be. But I always opt for full frame because it gives me the most flexibility, and then I can adjust the image as I like in post. I don't want to be limited that way. And again, so full frame for me always.
Like I said, it's not a rule. It's just a preference. But
totally, yes, yeah. Well, thank you, everybody whose questions were sent in that we covered today. And just want to send as a quick thank you to our sponsors, pictureline.com and Canon USA. And anybody, we also appreciate all the interactions that you send to us, and check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And something I quickly wanted to give a shout out for our producer, Jason Griffiths, and his work on our website, beyondthewildpodcast.com. You can often see more images there than our that follow the show as well, but we encourage you to watch on YouTube because he works hard at implementing images as we cover stories, especially with guests as well in their work. So check that out on YouTube and subscribe. It's free. And everybody, keep in touch. Guys, it's been fun. Not sure about the beginning of today's show. I'll be better prepared next time. But it was, you know what? It was awesome. It was fun. I love the surprise and the interaction. It's no different than sitting around the campfire and somebody saying, hey, what about this? Right? So I love how we started out today. Lots of fun. Great to hear your recent stories as well. And both were moving, in different ways of what you guys have been doing the past week. And I feel it. So thank you for sharing that stuff. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Until next week, take care. Cheers. That's a wrap for another episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors, pictureline.com, your online source for everything photography, and Canon USA. Follow us on Instagram at Beyond the Wild Podcast, and make sure to check out our website at beyondthewildpodcast.com for additional show notes, information, and photographs for all of our episodes. You can watch our podcast on YouTube, where we'll include video and photo content, and subscribe. We welcome your comments, questions, and feedback on all of our social media platforms. We hope that you enjoyed this episode of Beyond the Wild podcast. Until next time, embrace adventure in the great outdoors with a camera in hand.